If we can take our seats, that would be fantastic, please, because we plan to start in about 30 seconds. Hi, good evening to everyone. I'm Graham Maidment and I'm moderating to this evening's roundtable. Before we start the formal proceedings, we'd like to take a photograph of the two co-chairs of the Global Cooling Pledge and our Executive Director of UNEP, Inga Anderson, and just to show the collaboration. So I think we've got a photographer around, and I think the idea is we take a photograph, the photographer, and I think the idea is we ask you to come here. Okay, and if you'd like to stay in the middle, that's okay. If you'd like to, and my day job is I work for the UK government. We have two co-chairs here this evening of the Global Cooling Pledge, convening this Ministerial Roundtable. The United Arab Emirates COP28 presidency, represented by the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, and Brazil COP30 presidency, represented by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. So I'd like to invite Her Excellency Dr. Amna bint Abdullah Al Dahak, Minister of Climate Change and Environment, United Arab Emirates, to formally open the meeting and deliver some welcome remarks. Please.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone around this table. I hope that you had productive day and productive days in COP29 so far. And we thank everyone that is present with us here in this room at this time of the evening. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. And we thank you again for joining us to discuss an often overlooked topic in climate discussions. Cooling can accelerate or hold back our race to climate resilience, depending on the speed and scale of our solutions and the approach we take toward it. Based on current policies, the global installed capacity of cooling equipment will triple by 2050. And that is set to more than double electricity consumption. Based on this trajectory, emissions from cooling will surge to 6.1 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent by 2050. And that equivalent to more than 10% of global projected emissions by mid-century. With all the hard work we're all putting to drive down emissions, these figures should make us, or should alarm us in a way. If we do not commit to sustainable cooling action, we will not limit the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. And we also find ourselves in a circular dependency. We are on track to experience the hottest year on record. And to cope with these soaring temperatures, our reliance on cooling systems are inevitable. Yet, these cooling systems themselves are direct contributors to those record-breaking levels of temperature. And as the global population continues to grow, so too does the demand for cooling solutions. But this cannot compromise our climate progress and should not. We must break the cycle. In the UAE, we are leading the change toward more efficient cooling systems. District cooling is proving effective in increasing energy efficiency and reducing emissions. Many of our major buildings, residential areas, and business districts are served by cutting-edge district cooling plants. Dubai's Maritime City, for example, a multi-purpose maritime district spanning 249 hectares, is served by 2 district cooling plants with a combined cooling capacity of approximately 65,000 refrigeration tons. The extreme heat waves we have endured underscore the urgency of our work, affecting all communities, urban and rural, developed and developing. By investing in sustainable cooling, we gain climate mitigation and adaptation capabilities. We not only reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but we also provide protection from heat stress, reduce food loss, and enhance access to healthcare and medicines. Let's not forget that cooling alone as an adaptation strategy will result in increased greenhouse gas emissions. So adaptation and mitigation strategies must go hand in hand. The Global Cooling Pledge, the reason we are all here today, is our route to getting the balance right and boosting low carbon cooling on a global scale. We are united by a shared commitment to tackle these pressing issues through ambitious actions. Together, we must work to encourage nations to integrate cooling into the next round of their national climate plans, mobilize finance for cooling, enhance access to sustainable cooling solutions for vulnerable populations, and set a course of actions as we move into 2025 and look ahead to COP30. Today is an opportunity for partners to share progress on their national approach to implementation of the pledge. We are deeply grateful for the support of all of our partner nations and organizations who share our vision. And by committing to the pledge and working together, we could collectively reduce emissions by nearly 78 billion tons by 2050. This will help save lives, protect communities, and preserve ecosystems. The UAE believes, as always, that collaboration is the key to success in this climate crisis. In this room, we have the knowledge, we have the experience, and the resources, and I think we have the will to accelerate action in this field to levels that have not been seen before. With 70 countries and 60 non-state actors, this is the world's first collective effort to reduce cooling-related emissions across all sectors, and we must keep it that way. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Your Excellency. And I picked out some words from that, which I think is very, very true. Leading the charge and uniting us on this shared challenge. And you highlighted some ways that you're doing this, how you're embedding your NDCs, cooling into your MBCs, and the potential inclusion of an intergovernmental committee on cooling as well. These are seminal ways which you are leading us, both domestically and internationally. So thank you very much. I'm going to move on, if that's okay, and I'm going to invite our other co-chair, Anna Tony, Vice Minister from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change of Brazil, to deliver her welcome remarks. So please, over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Good evening for everyone. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you, Her Excellency, for all the leadership that you play now in this co-chairing with us as well. We need to remind ourselves that in 2024 has already broken the unprecedented heat records of 2023. Brazil, whose records of its hottest ever temperature in so many cities, recurring heat waves, extreme rains in some areas, droughts in the Amazon, wildfires in different areas of Brazil is causing mortalities, health problems, affecting infrastructure, services, having economy damages, and all development indicators are putting into stress. So our first message is Brazil fully recognizes and fully supports the critical role of sustainable cooling and the need for massive investment in sustainable cooling as both mitigation and adaptation measure. As an early supporter of the Global Cooling Pledge, Brazil commends the UAE for its COP28 presidency and obviously UNEP Cool Coalition for their leadership in advancing the Global Cooling Pledge and for convening this roundtable. Brazil is also like to congratulate all our fellow members as signatures from the pledge here for the challenge that we have collectively taken on. Together with UAE, as we just heard, Brazil and our new NDC, which has a target of up to 67% diminish of mitigation, absolute reduction economy-wide, all GSGs, the gases, in compromising both mitigation and adaptation has made it explicitly the important role of the Global Cooling Pledge. And we put this in the centerpiece of our own NDC. And we have committed enhancing energy efficiency in cooling systems and promoting the adoption of low GWP refrigerants, aligning with the Kigali amendments. The whole of passive cooling techniques, urban planning, green space and nature-based solutions, reflective building materials to combat urban heat islands and reduce cooling demands, and sustainable cooling technologies in rural areas are all within our plans. Brazil has advanced in developing our own national cooling action plan, which aligns our own NDC commitments with the minimum energy performance standards for cooling appliance and implementation of labeling programs to promote energy efficient technology. So we invited all countries to deliver ambitious commitments on NDC and to bring the cooling pledge inside of those NDCs, both for mitigation and adaptation as a priority, and to unlock innovative finance mechanisms and technical support for ensuring no region or community is left behind. Finally, despite of our progress in putting cooling in the center of our plans, there are still challenges. Financing is a critical barrier to pledge implementation domestically and to set measures that can all help us. We have come up with some instruments, economic instruments, sovereignty, sustainable bonds. We created a climate fund. We developed a new mechanism called Climate Eco-Invest to help to address some of those barriers. But we know that this is a barrier that not only achieves Brazil, but many of the countries in this table. So we have to come together to look at, and we are in a perfect moment at COP29 to look at some of those financial mechanisms. Institutional and technical capacity also persist as a gap. So what we would like is COP30, we feel can be a very big opportunity to tackle some of those challenges and to galvanize partnerships to make all our best, to make bold and ambitions, and so that we can together accelerate the implementation of the global cooling pledge. So we invited everybody to help Brazil when we have the COP presidency 30 to make the global cooling pledge a big priority for COP30. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Your Excellency, for sharing Brazil's commitment to the pledge and your plans to elevate cooling as a mitigation, but also as an adaptation measure at COP30. We're also very pleased to welcome you as co-chair to the Global Cooling Pledge. And we can see why both Brazil and the United Arab Emirates are both co-chairs, because they are leading by example. You can see the things that they're doing. They're the first to be amongst the first to submit their NDCs 3.0 with cooling targets. So congratulations, Minister. Congratulations, both ministers, for this leadership. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the person who heads the team that makes this all happen in the background. And I'm a pleasure to invite the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Director of United Nations Environment Programme, Ms. Inga Anderson, to deliver a special address on the Global Cooling Pledge progress and the vital importance of integrating cooling into NDCs. Ms. Anderson, we welcome your remarks.
Thank you very much. And it never gets tired to say this is where the cool folks hang out. So thank you for being here, ministers. And let me start by thanking, of course, you, Dr. Amna bin Abdullah Al-Dahhak. It's a pleasure to see you. And of course, you, Anna Tony. Very, very good to have such strong co-chairs leading. And we're delighted to see this bridge between the cooling pledge as was made in UAE and the strong commitment of Brazil as just expressed by yourself. Because with each passing year, humanity does pump more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And with each passing year, we are seeing the resultant intensification of these climate impacts. We all know this. And those who cannot afford cooling, cope with it by sweating and baking and, yes, dying in the heat, particularly in urban settings where everything is often made of concrete or steel roofs and tin roofs, and without sufficient green spaces where they can cool off and take refuge. And this is while we are still under 1.5 degrees. But when we look at what we admitted in 2023, we saw that we did not go down in our emissions. We went up by 1.3%. And we can see that unless the NDCs that we have to deliver in Brazil, in Belém, unless they are with much greater ambition, we will not make that 1.5. And it's obvious then that cooling, as we heard from Dr. Amna, needed will then be even more so. And so, but even if we meet our emissions goals, the planet is not going to cool down the next day. And so we're going to be living with vulnerable societies and communities that are not yet prepared for what we have been and will be experiencing. And we are not prepared for what is coming, irrespective of what we do next. And so we need to increase access to cooling across the board to protect human health, but also to reduce inequality, to reduce poverty, and to allow economies to function. And not just space cooling and the personal cooling, it's about cold chains too, the food that goes wasted, the medicines that gets lost. 12% of foods is wasted because there's not access to cooling. And so whether it's from from fishing communities to the places where fish are sold, et cetera, we're seeing 25% of vaccines produced and they degrade because of lack of proper temperature management. And at the same time, as the cooling pledge acknowledges, this has to happen without, as we heard from Dr. Amna and Ms. Tony, without reinforcing the vicious cycle of more emissions, hotter planet, more emissions, hotter planet. That's not the way we can go. And so we have to do this by ensuring that the three key measures that are outlined in the pledge, as well as in the Secretary General's call on extreme heat, that we meet those. One deals with passive cooling. Two deals with better urban design. And three deals with nature-based solutions. Passive cooling, that space that we design so that the breeze just wafts through and not heats us up, but cools us down. Better urban design to ensure that we have access to green spaces, trees on the streets that lower the temperature, and nature-based solutions, obviously, the green and blue spaces where we lower the temperatures. And then we need to think about our buildings. Today, we have fire standards. We don't have open sockets. We have protection. Why is it that we have fire standards in buildings, but we have not cooling standards? So that we can build with a standard that protects and cools without having to use energy. Each city, each country needs to introduce those standards. And of course, we need to have a much faster phase down of the climate warming hydrofluorocarbons, or HFCs, which are regulated under a UNEP managed treaty, the Montreal Protocol, and the Kigali Amendment, which I heard you mention, Madam Secretary. And these measures could protect about 3.5 billion people from extreme heat by 2050. It could cut sectoral emissions by about 60%. It could reduce electricity bills by about 1 trillion in 2050. It could reduce peak power requirements and avoid power generation investments in the order of trillions. It's there for the taking. So friends, I'm really, really pleased that the 2024 annual pledge report, which is before you today, highlights that countries' signatories to the pledge really are doing the hard work. They are progressing on implementing their commitments. And today we'll hear more about that, the successes as well as the challenges. And we obviously very much want to update and continue to work with everyone to update the 2030 pledge implementation strategy based on what we hear. And this has to happen because we're still lagging behind on some measures. Only 7 of the 71 countries that have signed up to the pledge have today enacted building energy codes that supports passive cooling. We are happy to provide technical assistance on this. It is not rocket science, but it's something that we can enact and make happen. 54 countries have adopted energy labeling schemes, which means that you kind of know whether an energy appliance is energy efficient, and 49 have set minimum energy performance standards for the cooling equipment. That's good, but we have some way to journey. 160 countries plus the EU have now ratified the Kigali Amendment. We celebrate that, but we want the rest of the countries to do so too. There are many ways where we can catch up on the action. I just want to mention 3 such areas. One, and I referenced this, include this cooling in the updated NDCs. This is a clear way to do so. 39 countries' signatures to the pledge have included that in their previous NDCs, and we hope very much that many more will be doing so in the upcoming NDCs. The second point that we can do is to adopt a joined-up approach to policies that back actions. So the national cooling and action plans, which some countries have rolled out, is a really, really effective tool for mayors and city planners and architects and building codes and lawmakers and policymakers to adhere to, because then we can work on aligning policies of passive cooling, energy efficiency, and refrigerant management. 17 country pledge signatories have published a national cooling action plan. More have reported that they are going to be doing that. And of course, national adaptation plans are also an important place where you embed nature and nature-based solutions and vulnerability assessments. And here we can include a cooling dimension. My third point is, and it should be fairly self-evident, we have to increase the financing for sustainable cooling. Closing existing shortfalls in access to cooling for households and small businesses in developing countries will require around 400 to 800 billion per year, in addition to the predicted growth of 300 to 600 billion per year. But think about it like this. The losses that we see from losses of food that it doesn't make it to the market because it rots in heating temperatures. Think about it, about vaccines and health costs that go up because vaccines were not available to those who needed it, and that cost went onto the public budget. It is money well spent. And here, bulk procurement, cooling as you go service, on-bill financing, risk-sharing facilities, and pay-as-you-go programs have been shown to work. There are ways of working this that can work also in low-income neighborhoods. And that means looking, therefore, we have to find seed funding and high-risk capital for new technologies and business ideas, and support large cooling, district cooling infrastructure projects, such as dedicated finance for subnational finance at subnational action. And that is why we're particularly pleased to see subnational entities having signed up to the cooling pledge. This can also be done on municipal bonds or muni finance in different ways. So friends, I really, really thank you for having shown the courage to step in to the leadership on the cooling pledge, to sign up, including through the promises and action that you have undertaken in the cooling pledge. We all need to do more, and we all need to do it faster so that we can expand sustainable cooling. But the heat is on, the heat is rising, and we must be those cool people who protect the most vulnerable from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson, for highlighting the key areas where countries have made progress over the last year, and also where we need to raise ambition as well. You mentioned cooling commitments in NDC 3.0, joined up policy action, and also unlocking finance. And you will find later in the roundtable, these will be elements of our discussion. Thank you also for noting some of the outputs from the 2024 annual pledge progress report prepared by the UNEP Cool Coalition Secretariat. And this is available online. And those of you that can see the screen, you can see a QR code. Okay, it's a tremendous report. It's very, very visual, very, very accessible. I would recommend you download it and access it. It's great. Ms. Anderson, under your leadership, UNEP and the Cool Coalition are doing some amazing work. And the work they're doing is elevating the profile of cooling. They're accelerating the implementation of cooling as a critical area for society and our shared future. So, Ms. Anderson, thank you very much. I think we should give a round of applause, actually. Ms. Anderson also mentioned the importance of subnational governments, and we've got a very small intervention, a very small item now, in time-wise, on a very, very important big topic. And before we start the Ministerial Roundtable, I would like to recognise the importance of subnational actions in delivering pledge implementation on the ground. It is critical that subnational, we will get to a clap in a minute and we'll have a big clap. So it's critical that subnational national governments work together to accelerate and realise our shared commitments towards sustainable cooling as a lever for both climate mitigation and adaptation. And I'm pleased to share that over the last year, we have had formal endorsements from 15 cities, and would request everyone in this room just to take a moment to recognise this leadership from these following subnational governments that have endorsed the pledge. So in no particular order, apart from alphabetical, country level, we have Melbourne, Australia, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Barcarena, Brazil, Teresina, Brazil, Santiago de Chile, Guangzhou, China, Tano River County, Kenya, Kisumu County, Kenya, Taveto County, Kenya, Nakuru County, Kenya, Homobo County, Kenya, Lagos State, Nigeria, Freetown, Sierra Leone, Greater Manchester, the UK, and Miami-Dade, USA. So I liked the hoot and the hollowing then. That was a great little touch. So in addition, we've got another 13 cities that have indicated their intention to do so. We won't mention them now, but we'll mention that they're actually from Bangladesh, Kenya, Mexico, UAE, and the UK. So, and we look forward to many, many more over the next year. And I'm sure we'll set a target of some sort, which we'll achieve. We're going to now move on to the open floor discussion for the Ministerial Roundtable, and I just want to sort of set the scene a little bit, and then we can carry on. So I think it's really important today that we collectively tell each other the things that we've been doing, because there's been amazing things, and we need to tell each other those amazing things. But also, maybe there's an opportunity for us to say what our challenges are as well. So we've got 3 questions here, which you will see. I think you've been sent these in advance, and highlighting country best practices, achievements and challenges, identifying levers, barriers to unlock finance. Inga mentioned this. And addressing the criticality of cities and subnational actions. Those are the flavours of these questions. And before we do this, I just wanted to also just if you get a chance to, please can you endorse the annual progress report? I know the country focal points have seen these in every country and have given comments back, and they've been accepted, etc. And also to endorse the pledge implementation strategy as well. And before we go there, before we start the discussion, I just wanted to recognise that in the background there are lots of focal points in all of our countries doing lots of work, okay, trying to make this happen. They do amazing amounts of work, and I think I've recorded over the last year, I think we've had at least 8 meetings where we've shared and we've worked together on stuff. So I think actually the focal points are probably a lot of them in the room. And whilst we're clapping, I think we should give a round of applause to our focal points as well. So please use the round table to share. I'm going to encourage you to be brief. Okay, we've got, I call an embarrassment of riches in the room. We've got lots and lots of people that want to say stuff, and we want everyone to be able to have a chance in a short period of time. So if you can restrict your intervention to just a couple of minutes, that would be great, and then we get a chance for everyone to speak. So and if you want to speak, please can you turn your place card up like this, and we'll try and go around in an appropriate order. So I'm going to open it up, and 3 minutes each if you can, maximum. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to put my glasses on to look around the room. So there's a few to start with. Okay, so I'm going to go to Granada to start with, if that's okay. I can't see Granada to the left. Okay, yeah, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, As small island developing states and low volume consuming countries of refrigerants, Grenada is acutely aware of the growing need for climate resilient and energy efficient cooling strategies, particularly in the face of increasing local temperatures and increasing vulnerability to climate change impacts. Grenada has ratified the Montreal Protocol and all its amendments. Grenada was one of the early ratifiers of the historic Kigali Amendment, the 34th country to ratify in May 2018, demonstrating our commitment and ambitious intent to phasing down hydrofluorocarbons, potent greenhouse gases used in the RAC sector. This step aligns with our broader climate strategy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and achieve the targets set out in our nationally determined contributions. As it relates to implementation highlights, legislative and regulatory measures to control HFC imports and use was also implemented. Functioning and effective license and quota system, the establishment of a national cooling action plan that promotes the use of natural refrigerants was implemented. Capacity building for technicians to handle low global warming potentials or GWP refrigerants safely was implemented. Grenada is one of few countries globally that has prioritized energy efficiency, including in cooling sector into the NDCs. Promotion of high efficiency air conditioning and refrigeration systems through tax incentives and public awareness campaigns. The only new gases included in the NDC update are F gases, further demonstrating our commitment to address these climate warming gases. Inclusion of youth and gender mainstreaming in our project portfolio, ensuring that women and youth have equitable access to resources, training, and decision-making processes. We've also successfully implemented scholarship programs that addresses the growing demand for trained professionals in the cooling sector. The establishment of minimum energy performance standards for the RAC equipment, a life cycle refrigerant management or LRM program that saw the first refrigerant reclamation center in the Caribbean was established in Grenada in October of this year. Distinguished colleagues, as this ministerial roundtable draws focus on integrating cooling into NDCs, I am happy to inform that this is a feat Grenada has already achieved. Our updated NDCs includes energy efficiency in the cooling sector, as well as the inclusion of F gases. Our sustainable cooling solutions in Grenada is focused in 5 principal areas. Buildings, 1, designs for passive cooling, reducing the cooling demand and introducing building energy performance standards. 2, refrigerants, introducing refrigerants with ultra low global warming potential, natural refrigerants. 3, energy efficient equipment, introduction of rack equipment with improved energy efficiency and conforms to the minimum energy performance standards in place. 4, behavioral changes, setting the equipment at the right temperature, preventative maintenance practices, the introduction of AI and smart energy management technologies, and 5, renewable energy, introducing solar-powered ACs or using solar PV to generate electricity to operate AC systems. A key demonstration of that was implemented within my office in the ministerial complex. Some of the challenges that we continue to grapple with, ladies and gentlemen, is the limited access to affordable low GWP cooling technologies, capacity gaps in transitioning to sustainable cooling, financing constraints for widespread adoption of energy efficient systems and to meet the high initial cost. Uncertainty in end-of-life treatment of refrigerants is also a deep challenge for us, and lack of access to equipment and tools for RAC technicians. Some of the strategies that can be adopted to tackle extreme heat and accelerated sustainable cooling solutions includes, but not limited to, strengthening policy and regulatory frameworks, leveraging climate finance, provision of incentives and subsidies, strengthening capacity and technical support, of course, public awareness and community engagement, meaningful one to besides, private sector collaboration. And so in closing, ladies and gentlemen, Grenada reaffirms its commitment to advancing climate action through innovative and inclusive solutions, particularly in the realm of sustainable cooling. We commend the COP28 presidency of the UAE, UNEP, and the Cool Coalition for their leadership in championing this critical agenda and welcome the collective efforts to establish a global framework that ensures equitable access to sustainable cooling technologies and financing mechanisms. Such initiatives are essential to address the dual challenges of mitigating climate change and enhancing climate resilience. As small island developing states on the front line of the climate crisis, Grenada is ready to take this commitment further by signing the Global Cooling Pledge, reaffirming our dedication to transformative climate protection, actions, and collaborations. Thank you.
That's absolutely amazing, Your Excellency, that you are the 72nd signatory. So that's brilliant news, made my night. So thank you very much. Well done, well done. We're now going to go to Burkina Faso, please. And if we can try to keep to 3 minutes or less, that would be great because there's lots of name plates up. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you. Burkina Faso is advancing in cooling practice through the implementation of a project. The project name is ROCA, Project for Ozone and Climate Cooling in West and Central Africa. This project contributes to increasing the use of green cooling technology in one country, Burkina Faso, by improving the policy and regulatory framework on the one hand and building capacity for the use of green cooling technology in the other hand. In addition, population growth coupled with the economic growth in lending to a sharp increase in demand for electricity. Today, all climate models agree on a significant increase in cooling degree day. Appropriate measures need to be taken, taking into account the future impact of climate change by improving the use of renewable energy sources of cooling. First, to this end, Burkina Faso has taken a number of steps to promote cooling. Training of trainers on natural refrigerants, training teachers in refrigeration and air conditioning, the acquisition and provision of tools for trained personnel and training center, rehabilitation of 2 cooling chambers at Ouagadougou, the adoption of legislative framework to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency, increasing the share of renewable energy in national production, 50% by 2040. 2, the challenge for the implementation of the cooling commitment are improving the regulatory framework, developing an energy efficiency policy for building, transport, and industries to ensure a successful energy transition, mobilizing financial resources. Third, factor facilitating implementing of cooling commitment, implementation of the hydrofluorocarbon phase-out management plan. The refrigeration and air conditioning industry is organized into association. The institutional framework is fairly solid. And in our country, we have a single office we call National Ozone Office. In this office, we try to push our policy of cooling. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We're going to go to the UK next, please.
Thank you, moderator. Cooling, access to sustainable cooling lies at the very heart of the climate agenda. On the mitigation side, with 10% of global demand being attributed to air conditioning now, expected to triple by 2050, if we don't solve this, we are in dire trouble. At the same time, it lies at the heart of adaptation solutions. But at the heart of all of this are people who need access to comfort, access to good health, secure health supply chains, and a healthy diet. At the heart of those people are often women who have had the loudest voice in calling for action on sustainable cooling, including many of the heat officers in many of the cities which have been so bold as to push the pledge forward. This is why we were proud to play a key role in launching the Cooling Pledge last year in Dubai. At home, we're already making a difference by reducing inefficient polluting cooling from many sectors. For example, in partnership with IEA, we have developed the Super Efficient Equipment Appliance Deployment Initiative, which will double the efficiency of air conditioning by 2030. And by establishing best practice in building regulations to tackle and mitigate overheating in homes, we can link the experience of individual homeowners to the global challenge. But we're also trying to use our influence through the pledge, and kudos to Grenada for coming on board as 72nd signatory. I'd like to give special thanks to the UAE and UNEP for doggedly pursuing this agenda and pushing it forward, and also want to recognise UNEP's leadership as the Cool Coalition Secretariat. But here at the Finance COP, let's turn to finance. Climate finance remains overly fragmented and complex, which just makes it more difficult to access for many countries and communities. For our part, as well as wanting to attack the fairness of the international financial system and the efficiency of all forms of climate finance, we've shown a willingness to lead the way through our support for the £1 billion Ayrton Fund, which helps to accelerate the clean energy transition in developing countries by creating and demonstrating new technologies and business models. Today, under the Ayrton Fund, we will announce an additional £15 million of funding delivered by Innovate UK. This funding will support research and development and piloting of clean energy technologies and business models, leveraging UK expertise and strengthening collaboration between UK innovators and stakeholders in developing countries. We're also proud to support the cutting-edge work in Africa through the African Centre of Excellence in Sustainable Cooling, based in Rwanda. So, access to cooling, critical for those on low income, in low income countries, in middle income countries, and increasingly those in low income in high income countries. Critical for the challenge of mitigation and critical for our ability to adapt. It's affecting all of us everywhere. And we, together with all of you, are happy to be part of this vanguard group in order to pursue solutions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Your Excellency. And we're now going to go to the Maldives, please, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. It was last year in COP28 that we launched our collective effort to reduce cooling-related emissions across all sectors in line with the 1.5-degree goal. I would like to commend the efforts of the COP28 presidency, UNEP, and the Cool Coalition team to congratulate the members of the pledge for the achievement in the past year. We are also pleased to congratulate the new incoming steering committee members of the UNEP Cool Coalition. In Maldives, amid rising temperatures and the humid heat stress, there has been an increased demand for cooling solutions. Finding measures to both cool our spaces as well as reduce the associated emissions is then an urgent concern. On the refrigerant management side, Maldives became the first developing country to successfully phase out and production and consumption of the HCFCs 10 years ahead of schedule under the Montreal Protocol. With the support from UNEP, Maldives' Kigali implementation plans to phase out HFCs through funding from the multilateral funding is also underway. We are treating energy efficiency improvements while phasing down refrigerants with the high GWPs. When we are talking about cooling, we must also give adequate attention to cold chain systems, as it was pointed out by our co-chairs. For us, both tourism and fisheries are the backbone of our economy. The fishing sector makes up a large portion of the Maldives' exports and contributes significantly to the Maldives' food security, as fish is the primary source of protein in our local diet. Additionally, as an island nation with limited land for agricultural purposes, we import over 90% of the food we consume, which are transported to islands through the cold chain systems. In this regard, there's a high dependency for air conditioning equipments and cold chains. The effectiveness of these systems is directly connected with the ensuring of the food security of the Maldives. Despite this, we recognize the urgency and the need to reduce our emissions, as since we know all too that when climate change impacts look like, and we know how much worse it will get if we do not take the collective action against it. To achieve this sustainable cooling effectively and to keep the 1.5-degree target alive, we must work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'd like now to go to Germany, please, Your Excellency.
Dear Presidency, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies. The Cooling Pledge with its 14 commitments is a great opportunity to transform the cooling sector. The progress report confirms that its implementation can achieve real impact. It's good to see that 1 year after launching the pledge, a comprehensive pledge implementation strategy has been developed. I'm happy to endorse the new implementation strategy herewith. Taking one step, some of our priorities for cooling are the integration of sectoral cooling pledge goals into the upcoming NDCs in an ambitious manner of all countries. To switch to climate and environmental friendly refrigerants instead of a detour via synthetic ones, because old flue gas, for example, has an up to 24,000 times more stronger impact than CO2. And winning more countries to ratify the Kigali Amendment and more countries to join the cooling pledge. And also management of used refrigerators who emit vast amounts of greenhouse gases. The pledge is closely linked to last year's COP28 global goal on doubling energy efficiency. We all know energy efficiency just makes sense. It saves money, strengthens energy security, and protects our health while cutting emissions. And the IEA's recently published Energy Efficiency Report 2024 shows that very efficient cooling units do not even have to be more expensive than efficient ones. In fact, the efficiency spread was similar in all cost ranges. So we really should see efficiency measures as a smart fiscal, economic, and social policy. As the third largest donor to the multilateral fund of the Montreal Protocol, Germany contributes with approximately 50 million euros for 3 years to climate-friendly cooling technologies. And we also engage in the International Climate Initiative, the Mitigation Action Facility, and the Green Climate Fund to support cooling and making cooling more efficient. And also engaged in the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program from the World Bank. So this pledge and the commitment by parties demonstrated today gives me hope that we can deliver much needed cooling to billions of people while drastically reducing energy demand and harmful emissions. However, it is clear that we need to do more by taking swift, effective, and coordinated global action on sustainable cooling. Let us take the upcoming NDCs seriously and integrate ambition on the global goals and the cooling sector across all relevant sectors. And even the G20 might be a good case to go further on and promote cooling pledge globally. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And we've got quite a few nameplates up still, so if we can just encourage you to be brief and to 3 minutes maximum. And we're now going to go to the United States, please.
Thank you. And I just want to note that the United States was very proud to work with UNEP and UAE in launching this last year at COP28, and we remain highly supportive and encouraged by all the progress here. I want to just note very briefly that This is a huge opportunity. It is worth up to 2 years of avoided energy emissions if we get this right. And there are answers that we can build on, including on the technology side. Back when I was at U.S. Department of Energy around 2010, had the privilege to help support the Global Cooling Prize launch. That delivered an 80% more efficient air conditioning technology, and we're now starting to see prototypes of that kind of solution into the marketplace. So the solutions exist on a technological level, and it's quite exciting to have this group helping to put the policy work in place to drive adoption in the marketplace, as well as the financing for that. And I want to specifically recognize the Cool Coalition Secretariat for the excellent work that you have done in putting together implementation plans that will help to turn this pledge into action through policy, in particular standards and labels as a critical building block for any government to succeed in this endeavor, and then capacity building and encouragement of including cooling dimensions in the information for clarity, transparency, and understanding in respective NDCs of different governments. I want to, on the financing question put in front of us, make one very important point that may not be broadly understood around the table yet, and I hope that we can change that together, which is that the United States government was proud to ratify the Kigali Amendment, proud to fight for the Kigali Amendment back in 2016, and we are very much implementing the Kigali Amendment. We also fought for, with partners, and helped to secure a near doubling of the multilateral fund to implement the Kigali Amendment. So there's now nearly $1 billion over 3 years available through the multilateral fund to the Kigali Amendment to implement in signatory countries. And there's $100 million available specifically for building cooling efficiency into the manufacturing conversions needed to move beyond HFCs. So it's a tremendous opportunity for countries as they submit or revise Kigali implementation plans to bake into those plans opportunities for cooling efficiency and make that part and parcel of the transition past HFCs. Very briefly, just to note that we've also been working on other levels in the United States, including with partners through the Quadrilateral Alliance, or the Quad, that makes up United States, Japan, Australia, and India, where earlier this year, the Quad announced that cooling efficiency would be on its agenda, including manufacturing and supply chain diversification of high-efficiency cooling devices. I want to just note in closing that as we think about cooling and its impact on human beings, one of the things we should also bear in mind is that beyond energy transition, we do need to think about the other half of today's climate change, which is methane and other non-CO2 greenhouse gases, including HFCs in air conditioners, that's causing over half of today's climate impacts. And it is the fastest way to pull the emergency brake on climate change, to cut that methane and those HFCs, that tropospheric ozone. And so we're very pleased to see a lot of attention on that agenda continue through groups like the UNEP Climate and Clean Air Coalition, which just released a new report on N2O superpollutants and continues to support work on HFCs and methane and beyond. And as Inger noted, when you do things like cold chain enhancement, you can not only cut the energy consumption from cooling, but also cut food loss and waste and the methane attached to those supply chains. So lots of opportunities here, lots of co-benefits. Fantastic to see this growing coalition doing the work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We're going to go to Nigeria now, please, Your Excellency.
Good evening, everyone. Nigeria is pleased to announce her participation as participating in the cooling pledge. We are committing, of course, to reduce cooling-related emissions across our sectors. Also, we are also pledging to increase access to sustainable cooling. And for us as well, efficiency is very important. Very important as well is including labeling on all the cooling mechanisms, and then also very important as well is to ensure that we include manufacturing of these renewable energy solutions in the country. One of the things we have seen is that while we drive towards meeting this pledge, It's important to add that finance is key to what it is we hope to achieve. And that's why the government, through its Project Evergreen, is asking and calling actually that these solutions be manufactured in the country to reduce the cost and ensure that we also have the labeling in addition to to ensure that there's energy efficiency and labeling in that. The Cooling Pledge, Global Cooling Pledge, presents Nigeria with an opportunity to raise her ambition and international cooperation through collective targets, improved energy efficiency, and climate-friendly approaches, while contributing to emissions reductions and increasing access to sustainable cooling across cold value chain. As a country where we are known as being energy poor because a lot of people lack access to electricity, we find that this also affects our agricultural harvest. And of course, cooling is important to ensure that we reduce harvest loss. Be that as it may, as a signatory to the pledge, Nigeria is committed to ensuring that we meet the GCP goals, which is evident in the integration of cooling as a mitigation measure under the IPPU and energy sector of Nigeria's 2021 revised NDC, ensuring that the objectives of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol are met. Nigeria's commitment to the GCP is also displayed in the formulation of national policies, our National Cooling Action Plan 2022 and the Minimum Energy Performance Standard 2024 that all support the GCP. Within Nigeria's national context, we acknowledge the potential challenges that may limit the actualization of the GCP, like I earlier indicated. And again, these challenges include weak synergy among government organizations, limited financial and technical support for a seamless transition to low GW refrigerants, inadequate data, limited awareness campaign on sustainable cooling at the subnational and also at the national, proper investment or financial plan to support companies in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector and lack of capacity building. But we have indicated these challenges. We are also saying that this presents itself as opportunities for collaboration. There's a need to constitute a national global GCP working group, which we are going to drive, and also the training of officials on the collection of cooling data. Review also the National Building Code, domicile with the Ministry of Housing, and collaborate with the Ministry of Housing to train real estate developers on the importance of cooling. For us, it's very important, again, to draw the attention towards financing, finance, and to also understand the need for value chain localization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We're now going to go to Japan, please, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Chair. I'm confident that there is common ground on the practices between Japan and other countries. Since I hear the intervention from our colleagues on Grenada, Japan's practices can be summarized following: ABC. A, air conditioner with high energy efficiency and with low GWP refrigerant. Energy efficiency standard on air conditioner and regulation on refrigerant in line with Kigali Amendment are already implemented in Japan and other countries. B, building sector is a relevant sector. We have regulation on buildings and housings, energy efficiency, and the regulation aims at achieving a net zero level by 2030. Therefore, we need high energy efficient air conditioners in buildings. C, cycle, life cycle refrigerant management. It is estimated that cuts in emissions of HFCs and HCFCs by life cycle management of refrigerant between 2025 and 2050 will be up to 39 billion ton carbon dioxide equivalent. This is approximately 68% of global annual greenhouse gas emissions in 2023. Japan has promoted fluorocarbon emissions controlling measures throughout the life cycle from production, use to disposal within Japan and together with Asian countries such as Indonesia and Vietnam. We have continued in international cooperation activities under the initiative on fluorocarbon life cycle management (IFL) since its launch at COP25. Lastly, during the meeting of the parties to Montreal Protocol (MOP 36) held last month, through a workshop on life cycle refrigerant management, parties recognized importance and urgency of LRM. In closing, let me emphasize that Japan will continue to contribute to this pledge by making our utmost effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to Cambodia next, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. It is a privilege to join you at this critical juncture as we discuss the global cooling pledge and our collective response to the pressing challenges of climate change and extreme heat. I would like to extend my gratitude to the COP29 presidency and United Nations Environment Programme and the coalition to bringing us together under this vision initiative. 2023 was the hottest year on record, a stark reminder of escalating climate crisis. In Cambodia, like many other vulnerable nations, we have witnessed the devastating impact of extreme heat, amplifying inequality, strengthening food security, and imposing by terrible burden of the most disadvantaged in our society. Addressing this crisis is not just environmental imperative, but a moral one. The global cooling pledge represents a transformative opportunity to mitigate this impact. By committing to reduce cooling-related emissions by at least 68% by 2050, we align ourselves with the 1.5 degree pathway and vision of the sustainable net zero future. Cambodia is proud to be among the signatories reaffirming our commitment to equitable eliminate action. In Cambodia, we have prioritized sustainable cooling solutions as part of our national determined contribution and national cooling action plan. We are integrating passive cooling technology in urban planning and promoting energy efficiency cooling appliance to reduce reliance on traditional air conditioning system. Through regional partnership, we aim to adopt innovative cooling system that benefit our community while supporting national development. Cambodia has been proactive in integrating sustainable cooling solutions into the policy and strategy. Our national cooling action plan serves as the vital framework guiding our effort to reduce energy demand and greenhouse gas emission from the cooling sector. It focuses on 5 priority areas, in which include building space cooling, food cold chain, healthcare, cold chain, mobilize air condition, and process cooling. Through National Cooling Action Plan, we have prioritized passive cooling measures in building design and urban planning along energy efficiency technology. The action aligns with the long-term vision for a clean, green, and low carbon society while supporting international agreements like the Paris Agreement and Kilaki Amendment. Our efforts have yielded promising outcomes, including a projected 80% reduction in hydrofluorocarbon consumption by 2045 compared to the 2020-2022 baseline. We have also made strides in transitioning for renewable energy-based cooling system and enhancing minimum energy performance standard for appliance. However, our journey is not without challenges. Limited financial resources and technical capacity either in large-scale implementation of cooling initiative. Additionally, the need for targeted support at the subnational and community level remain critical. We must work together to address the barrier. As we look ahead, I propose this priority to accelerate our progress. For scaling climate finance, we must simplify access to finance for sustainable cooling projects. Cambodia support framing cooling as an adaptation measure with mitigation co-benefit, making eligible to diverse funding streams. For empowering local action, the subnational government play a vital role in delivering results. By empowering local authority with resources and knowledge, we can foster innovation and enhance community resilience against extreme heat. For promoting collaboration, we must share best practice and fostering technology transfer among nations, which can accelerate adoption of the sustainable cooling solution. Cambodia is committed to learning from and contributing to this collective effort. Excellency, delivering on the global cooling pledge is not just the meeting target. It is about safeguarding life and ensuring a just and sustainable future for all.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I think we probably need to say thank you very much and give you a round of applause for your contribution here. And I'm going to now move to Kazakhstan and then Singapore. And please, can we keep to 3 minutes? We're going to keep a record of everything that you've written. So if you don't get a chance to say everything, it'd be great for everyone in this room to be able to say something, please. And listening to Kazakhstan, if you want to listen, you can listen via the headset.
Thank you very much. I'll speak English. Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here. Kazakhstan is actively fulfilling commitments under the international agreements aimed at combating climate change and safeguarding the ozone layer. As you may know, in 2023, the initiative of our president, the strategy for achieving carbon neutrality by 2060 was announced. Under the updated national NDC, Kazakhstan has an unconditional target to reduce GHG emissions by 15% by 2030 compared to 1990 levels, and conditional target to reduce emissions by 25% by 2030 with significant support from financial support from international financial institutions. We aim to achieve targets through gradual transition from coal to alternative renewable energy, sources and by deploying innovative technologies such as hydrogen energy and carbon capture and storage. In addition, we are changing our regulatory framework. We have recently updated the environmental code, where we strictly control the consumption of ozone-depleting substances, establish quotas for their import and production, and ensure their safe use across various sectors. Currently, Kazakhstan is working on ratifying the Kigali Agreement to the Montreal Protocol, which represents a critical contribution to climate action. As part of this effort, we are conducting an inventory of HFCs, determining baseline levels of their consumption, and developing a phased reduction plan, which will enable us to achieve long-term sustainable development. Another important step for our environmental climate journey is the joint project with UNIDO GEF for environmentally safe disposal of ozone-depleting substances and obsolete particles, pesticides. This project is very important for us to minimize the impacts of hazardous chemicals on environment and human health. We are fulfilling our obligations under the Montreal Protocol, actively cooperating with Ozone Secretariat and adhering to commitments under the multilateral funds. The actions we are taking are aimed at protecting the global ozone layer, which plays a vital role in safeguarding the Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We're going to go to Singapore and then Dominican Republic. And again, please, if you can keep it to 2 minutes, that would be lovely. Please, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, co-chairs, for your leadership. For tropical countries like Singapore, cooling is not a luxury. It is essential for health, well-being, and productivity. It is also one of the largest drivers of our energy consumption and carbon emissions, and that's why we're deeply committed to the initiative that you have led. We ratified the Kigali Amendment in 2022, and to curb emissions, we regulate HFCs, ban appliances using refrigerants, and mandate the recovery, reclamation, or destruction of spent refrigerants. I'm happy to respond to Ms. Anderson's plea and report that we also have incorporated cooling in our NDCs. We have made significant progress in the energy efficiency of our buildings and cooling equipment. Since 2005, we have implemented a green building rating system for buildings in the tropics and subtropics to spur adoption of energy efficient technologies and cooling systems. And under our plans, we have various initiatives to promote green buildings with a target of greening 80% of our buildings. We have raised the average energy efficiency of air conditioners by almost 60%. And Singapore has put in place schemes to help businesses and households defray the upfront costs of deploying more energy efficient equipment. An important point is that as a government, we lead by example. We want to lead by example to make sure that government buildings are the first, to achieve at least 60% energy savings in the new projects and major retrofits. And we have adopted a 25 degrees Celsius standard for all government buildings wherever it is possible. We have been taking steps to keep Singapore cool by intensifying urban greenery and incorporating urban design. This is what, again, the UNEP mentioned about passive measures. We have also developed a model to test the effectiveness of various heat mitigation measures that we have. So in closing, we welcome the recommendations of the Global Cooling Pledge annual report as a foundation for collective action. We are supportive of establishing a constitution body for inclusive governance of the pledge. This will provide a structured platform for countries to collaborate and share best practices. We urge the Cool Coalition to focus on partnerships and innovations to drive impactful change, and we stand ready to work with all coalition partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We're now going to go to Dominican Republic and then Micronesia, please. And again, 2 minutes if we can.
Thank you very much. Estimados y excelentísimos distinguidos colegas y estimados invitados, la República Dominicana se ahorra en contribuir a este diálogo crucial mientras trabajamos juntos para cumplir el compromiso global del enfriamiento. Celebramos el compromiso de Brasil de copresidir este pacto junto a la presidencia de la COP28 de los Emiratos Árabes Unidos y liderar conjuntamente los avances de la implementación hasta la COP30. Nuestro compromiso climático está basado en la ambición y la acción. Bajo nuestra contribución determinada a nivel nacional, nos hemos fijado la meta de reducir emisiones de gases de efecto invernadero en un 27% para el año 2030. Un enfoque significativo se centra en integrar soluciones sostenibles de enfriamiento dentro de nuestra futura NDC 3.0 para alinearnos aún más con los objetivos climáticos globales. Medidas claves ya en marcha incluyen la implementación de una estrategia nacional de enfriamiento y una estrategia que introduce estándares de eficiencia energética y etiquetado para electrodomésticos como aires acondicionados y refrigeradores. Además, estamos abordando la cadena de frío agrícola para reducir el desperdicio de alimentos y mejorar la seguridad alimentaria, un área vital para la resiliencia frente a los impactos climáticos. La colaboración con socios nos está ayudando a cerrar brechas críticas en este sector y por ello nos sentimos orgullosos de formar parte de este compromiso global de enfriamiento y de la comunidad de la coalición de enfriamiento. Para la República Dominicana, el enfriamiento sostenible no es solo un compromiso climático, es una necesidad para proteger nuestra población, fortalecer nuestra economía y contribuir un futuro resiliente del cual podamos sentirnos orgullosos. Muchas gracias por la oportunidad de compartir nuestros avances mientras trabajamos juntos hacia la implementación del compromiso global de enfriamiento.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now to Micronesia, please.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator. Good evening, Excellencies, esteemed participants. Micronesia reaffirms its support for the Global Cooling Pledge. Micronesia has long championed cooling as a critical pathway to climate mitigation, adaptation, and sustainable development. We led the charge to reduce HFC emissions under the Montreal Protocol and worked tirelessly with allies to secure the Kigali Amendment. Since then, we have been dedicated to its full implementation, advocating for optimized energy efficiency to double its climate benefits. Cooling, however, remains an urgent challenge. Reports from the International Energy Agency highlights that strain on energy system from rising cooling demands and underscored the need for coherent, coordinated action. For island nations like Micronesia, where energy is costly and reliant on fossil fuel imports, growing needs for cooling will stress our grids and place undue financial burdens on our consumers. The global community is only beginning to make headways on cooling. We have many choices that impacts the climate, but we are still not always making the right ones. For example, the issue of the refrigerants stored in cooling equipments. These refrigerants banks could release up to 90 billion tons of CO2e unless they are sustainably managed and destroyed. While life cycle approaches are under discussions in the Montreal Protocol, more political will, like what we see here today, is needed to ensure energy efficiency and life cycle refrigerant management in our global efforts. The next round of NDCs present a chance to align cooling with greater ambition and equity, ensuring vulnerable nations and communities gain access to life-saving cooling, and we are able to strengthen cold chains in the health and food system. In a rapidly warming world, cooling is no longer a luxury, but a necessity, and arguably a right. This coalition should continue to support cooling justice, ensuring equitable access to cooling while maximizing opportunities for mitigation and advancing on the SDGs. This should be a priority for us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. So we've still got a number of countries to speak, and they prepared something, and I think we should allow our countries to speak, which would mean potentially we can go until 8:15, but at 8:15 we will be asked to vacate the room. So can I ask the remaining countries, can you please give a very short intervention? And as I mentioned before, we will keep your words that you've got. We'll keep them in the recordings of the proceedings. So I'm now going to go to Italy and then Kenya, please, but very short interventions, please. Your Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief, and of course, thank you very much for this. Let me say first of all that we're very proud to be among the first supporters of the initiatives. And we're also very proud that this initiative has been recognized and welcomed within our G7 climate, environment, energy. So this was, of course, a very important achievement. We particularly welcome the annual report, which we thought was a very good and provided very good insights, also around the efforts made by the various governments. We do consider as a very important element to increase the penetration of highly efficient technologies and to increase, of course, energy efficiency. This is not only to achieve the goals, but also as an opportunity for industry, for research and development to go further. So it's a double or triple opportunity. Regarding some of the best practices we put in place within Italy, just let me very briefly mention the strategy around green public procurement, also as a role model to drive further the society around the need for sustainable cooling. And of course, we totally share the need to put into the next round NDC's ambitious goals. But again, collecting your, let's say, pledge to be very, very brief, I'll close it here and say that again, thank you on behalf of the whole of the ministry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency from Kenya, please.
Thank you, moderator. It is with immense pleasure and sense of purpose that I represent the subnational county government that have endorsed the global cooling pledge following the national government of Kenya joining the pledge in the year 2023 at COP28 Dubai. After the COP28, the government of Kenya launched the National Cooling Action Plan and started its implementation across all the subnational governments, private sector, and the whole society. In this COP29, which is dubbed the Finance COP, I would like to highlight the following about Kenya. 9.6 million people are at high risk due to lack of access to cooling, which includes 5.1 rural poor who lack electricity and live in extreme poverty, often engaging in subsistence farming without access to intact cold chains, and 4.5 million urban poor with limited or no electricity access, and living in thermally poor housing and facing intermittent electricity supply. On the side of agriculture, there is lack of agricultural cold chains and fastened cold chains. And on this basis, we have an investment prospectus, which translates into the market opportunity for projected agriculture-related cold chains infrastructure of around 2.1 billion USD by 2030, considering fresh fruits, vegetables, and dairy and fish value chain. After COP28, Kenya, together with Sustainable Energy for All and other partners, have achieved two things. One, it has embraced the cooling marketplace, which provides a platform to bridge the gap between SMEs and larger institutional investors, design new funding proposal, and incubate sustainable cooling initiatives. Two, it has encouraged the 47 counties, the whole country, to capture cooling needs in their county energy plans. And out of
the 47 counties, 8 pilot counties have already commenced development of their EAT action plans that includes prioritized pipeline of investment opportunities. And I'm happy to report that we have had more counties coming on board to sign the pledge. For example, we have now 8 counties that have come on, which are on board, and this includes Viga County, which you didn't mention, Kisumu County, you mentioned about it, Homa Bay County, Nakuru County, Laikipia County, Kilifi County, Tana River County, Taita Taveta County, and Makueni County. So we invite you to partner with us as we target to implement at local level while enhancing our NDC as we enhance our NDC acceleration to access to sustainable cooling. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And we're now going to go to France and then Belgium and then Rwanda and Ghana, please. But literally 1 minute each because we want everyone to be able to speak. So please, Your Excellency from France.
You hear me? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. Let me reiterate France's support to the cooling pledge, to thank UAE, Brazil and UK for their leadership, and the United Nations Environment Programme for the excellent work of the secretariats. For France, in the interest of time, I will skip the measures we put in place in our National Adaptation Plan. In collaboration with local authorities, we are doing our best, be assured, and we'd be happy to communicate on that on another occasion. As mentioned several times around this table, we would like to draw your attention to the importance of the building sector, in particular the need to think first and foremost about the building's envelope and energy efficiency. It is one of the reasons behind our international commitment on buildings and climate, one of the reasons we created Global EBC and supported the Buildings Breakthrough. Now, following the organization of the first Global Forum on Buildings and Climate last March in Paris with UNEP, we have a common working framework supported by 64 countries and the European Commission. It's called the Déclaration de Chaillot. We will launch in 2 days a Ministerial Council on Buildings and Climate, which will be tackling this buildings and cooling question, both in terms of mitigation and adaptation. One of this year's priority being finance. We warmly invite all the countries around the table to join. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Please, from Belgium next, please, Your Excellency, and again, 1 minute.
Thank you, moderator, dear co-chairs, dear excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the members of the contact group who have prepared a pledge as a basis for the work to be done, structuring it and giving it a solid ground in preparation for the development of a sustainable cooling strategy. The progress report that has been prepared already shows that we are well on the way to achieving this goal, but this is of course not enough. And this needs to be translated into concrete actions. I just give 2 brief remarks. So Belgium, as a member of the European Union, is doing its part domestically by implementing the recently renewed regulation on fluorinated gases, which is very ambitious. And in this new version, the efforts to reduce emissions have been greatly intensified. The scope has been broadened and the impact has been increased by prohibiting the export of technologies and equipment that would not be allowed on our territory. And secondly, in addition, Belgium remains strongly committed to supporting the action of parties that may need assistance and cooperation to achieve their own targets. We are actively participating in the discussions of the Multilateral Fund, which is preparing an approach for the implementation of the Kigali Amendment, focusing on energy efficiency in the projects presented to its executive committee. We are willing to share our experience and knowledge with the goals of helping our partners and encourage the best practices in any relevant sectors, because together we can accomplish more and better. So we remain committed to the future development of the cooling pledge, and thank you very much for this useful session.
Thanks very much. And Rwanda 1 minute, and then Ghana 1 minute, if please. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Chair. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, partners, and esteemed guests. It's an honor to address you today at this pivotal moment in our collective journey towards a sustainable and resilient future. Rwanda on the best practices and achievements and challenges. Let me highlight only three due to the time. Rwanda has long been at the forefront of initiatives addressing the intersection of environmental sustainability and economic development. The three initiatives, the first one is ratification and implementation of the Kigali Amendment. Rwanda was proud to host the adoption of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. This landmark agreement is central to our policies as we work to phase down HFCs and promote energy efficient cooling technologies. We would like to call upon countries who are not yet ratifying Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol to do so. Second is adoption and implementation of national cooling strategy and action plan. Through the Rwanda Cooling Initiative, we have created a conducive policy and institutional framework in the country. Those are creating affordable and sustainable cooling solutions for our agricultural and healthcare sectors, ensuring food security and vaccine integrity. Last but not least, establishment of Africa Center of Excellence in Sustainable Cooling and Cold Chain as a catalyst for sustainable cooling in Africa. In collaboration with the governments of UK and Rwanda, UK universities, and global partners, ACES has emerged as a beacon of hope. ACE was established to address challenges such as food loss, vaccine prevention, and post-harvest management. ACES has become a model for regional collaboration. As a challenge, Mr. Chair, we still have limited access to the affordable cooling facilities for rural areas, especially in agriculture sector. In closing, I would like to reaffirm Rwanda's commitment to global cooling efforts and invite all stakeholders to join hands in transforming cooling into an enabler of sustainable development. We want also to give you assurance that Rwanda will include cooling in our NDC 3.0, which will be submitted before February 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And Ghana, we're going to go to Ghana, and then we've got a couple.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for your magnanimity. I want to promise you that I'm going to stay within the 1 minute allocated to me. Let me first start by thanking the champions who are dedicated to lift cooling efficiency to the next level. To you, I doff my hat. Kudos. Mr. Chairman, because the Ghana success story has been succinctly captured in the report, permit me to skip that one and rather highlight on one major barrier, challenge, difficulty that is militating against the achievement of the noble objective of Cool Coalition, and that is dumping. Dumping is no longer a figment of anyone's imagination. It is real. Studies upon studies have revealed that from Southeast Asia to Africa to Latin America, specifically developing countries, dumping is very rampant. And as you may be aware, investors are not attracted to market of lemons. Market where bad products chase away good ones are not attracted to investors. So I want to urge this August platform that we throw our weight behind the fight against dumping. Although Ghana has led Africa to the Montreal Protocol to obtain a decision, we now need more hands. We need more support to fight against dumping. And once we are able to achieve that, I'm pretty sure that whenever we meet, as we have met, you will find countries from the developing countries giving success stories to the delight of all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. So we're going to now go to Lagos State and then Arena and then close. And Lagos State is going to give a very, very short intervention, 30 seconds, I'm told, on the role of subnational governments. And literally 30 seconds, please.
Your Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, from Lagos, we're happy to be here. And we want to also align with the fact that cooling is now a necessity, it's no longer a luxury, particularly for those of us coming from the tropical region. We can no longer do less. So we're happy to be here. We're delighted to be part of this team. We'll be happy, signing the Global Cooling Pledge. And from Lagos, I brought the message of peace, love, and to assure this house that the next time we'll be coming, we're coming here to give you positive, measures that we have taken. And from the governor of Lagos State, I have a message to say thank you for carrying us along. This is the first subnational from my country, that is Lagos State, to be part of this. It's never happened that any other state, we come to this level. And coming here, we want to assure you that we'll play along. We'll put in our best to see that
Thank you,
Lagos
Your
get along.
Excellency.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we'll go to close after we have His Excellency Francesco La Camero, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, please.
Distinguished Minister, Excellencies and esteemed delegates, ARENA is proud to stand as a committed partner in the UNEP-led Cool Coalition, united in our shared vision of a world where sustainable cooling is accessible to all. The Global Cooling Pledge, a landmark achievement of COP28, provides a crucial framework for achieving this vision. At ARENA, we believe that renewable energy is at the cornerstone of sustainable and equitable cooling future. ARENA is actually supporting several key pledge commitments. In particular, we are working with countries to develop tailored strategy that leverage the abundance of renewable energy and resources, particularly solar and wind, to power cooling system in underserved communities. This not only enhance resilience to extreme heat, but also promote energy access, economic development, and social equity. Furthermore, ARENA is committed to supporting dissemination of innovative cooling technologies through our knowledge product and capacity building initiatives. We are also proud to be part of the Cool Coalition Steering Committee, where we aim to leverage our global membership and renewable energy leadership to act as a bridge between government and the Cool Coalition, facilitating country engagement with the coalition, advocating for renewable-based cooling. ARENA flagship report, World Energy Transition Outlook 2024, provides compelling evidence for the feasibility and benefits of integrating renewable energy-based cooling into national energy plan. The Global Cooling Pledge represents a shared commitment to a more sustainable and equitable future. ARENA is dedicated to working alongside the Cool Coalition and pledge signatories to translate this commitment into tangible action. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Your Excellency. We're going to move to close, and before we do that, those that have still got there from the development agencies, we will take your written for the report. So thanks very much for making those interventions. So we're going to move to close, and Dr. Amna, please, over to you, and then Inga wants to say a couple of words.
Thank you. I won't take much of everyone's time, that it's already late, I think, for everyone, but this is even a much more important reason why we should thank everyone around this table for the commitment to join this pledge and to join this conversation and to listen to the priorities that everyone have shared. And I think there is a lot of synergies around the table. I would like also to thank Inger for the support and the efforts that you're putting as well through the Cooling Coalition. It's all the different pledges and coalitions and platforms have to integrate together to ensure that we're carrying forward an impactful action that is really going to deliver. And I think with commitment that we have heard around the table, we're on the right track. Thank you.
Very well said, Dr. Sander. And Inga, over to you. I think you want to say a couple of words.
I will just thank everyone. And I think this has been extremely rich. We are working under the strong leadership of the two co-chairs. As I said in my opening, we're delighted that this is being carried forward to Brazil, and we appreciate that very much. We're taking careful note of what everyone has said. And I want to just stress that when we stand together, we can move very far. I'm delighted about the subnational. I do apologize that I couldn't all speak, but I think the understanding that mayors and local governors and others bring to this is very, very important, as well as the partners who are here who did not have a chance. We from UNEP aim to serve you as best we can as Secretariat for the Cooling Pledge. And of course, we celebrate all those who have already ratified Kigali and those who haven't. Please, we ask you to do so. And may I just follow up on what the distinguished colleague from Ghana said? Dumping of old, obsolete refrigerators and air conditioners and selling them in Africa or Asia is unacceptable. And everyone needs to institute port measures to prevent that. It is going on, and we need to ensure that it is stopped, because the gases leak wherever they are and will impact on climate, irrespective of the leak in your country or in another. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Just one thing further for me to say is we would like to do a family photo outside with the heads of delegations and the heads of development organisations. So our photographer will direct you outside. There's a nice wall which we can which provides a good backdrop.
Thank you. Can we just thank the moderator, please?